Hi guys, hope you've had a great week. Today we're going to be talking about refutation and its importance in debate. Okay, so first off, what is refutation? Well, refutation basically is just responding to someone else's argument. Now, more specifically, why should we refute? Well, let's think about debate like a sport because strategically debate is a lot like other sports. For example, let's take soccer. In order to score a goal, you need offense. However, to prevent the other team from scoring goals against you, you need defense. In the same way, your case is going to be offense. It's going to be how you can win the round. Your defense is refutation. This is how you weaken your opponent's offense or case. Like any sports team, you can't win with just a strong offense or defense, but you need a combination of both to win. That's why refutation is going to be really important and really helpful for you in the future. Okay, so before we continue on with refutation, we wanted to do a quick claim warrant impact refresher. See you there. Great. So now that we're here, let's take a look at this bill. The bill is basically about ending military aid to Egypt. The writer has one claim that we are looking at right now, and it says that if we end military aid to Egypt, we would cripple low-income constituents of the United States. Now, he has one warrant, and it says that defense contacts that come with military aid to Egypt allow for the livelihood of low-wage manufacturing jobs. Okay, so let's see how he defends this with his data or his evidence. Okay, so the first piece of evidence comes from The Nation in March 2019, and it says that the U.S. benefits from military aid to Egypt have also helped create jobs and reduce unemployment in the U.S. More than 1.3 million Americans work in manufacturing weapons for defense companies, and more than 3 million others are supported by the industry indirectly. Cool. Now let's look at the second piece of evidence, and this is from the Stockholm International Peace Research Institute, stating that the U.S. is among the world's top 5 arms producers and distributors. And so what we get from this is that he's saying that military aid to Egypt allows for our manufacturing to go up, and therefore we're helping our own people and creating more manufacturing jobs. That's what I understand as of now. Now, let's see how he implicates this. His impact is basically saying that when we give military aid to Egypt, we're not just throwing money, right? He's saying that with the equipments, we're actually directly supporting millions of manufacturing jobs that our low-income constituents depend on. Now, this impact is going to be really important. If we think about it, those millions of jobs that he's talking about that we're creating for the US specifically is going to be a huge argument that he can use to win rounds. It's going to be a major benefit, and that's what a lot of judges are going to be looking at when they're voting on the issue. And therefore, it's going to be really important to emphasize. So, it's always important to have an impact in your case. Okay, we'll go right back, and I'll see you right there. Okay, we're back. Now, let's talk about refutation. There are two ways to refute. The first is weighing. Weighing is basically comparing arguments and showing how yours is better. So, let's talk specifically about weighing. What you want to do is that you're mainly going to be able to weigh your warrants, evidence, and your impacts, and sometimes even claims, but it's going to come down to micro level things such as evidence and impacts. However, generally, you're going to see that it's more common and effective to weigh impacts. However, when you and your opponent may have two pieces of evidence that contradict each other, it may be important to compare evidence and also weigh why your evidence is better than the other. But let's stay tuned for later because we'll get more into the details of weighing later today. But more importantly, let's talk about delinking, which is a more fancy way of saying that you're just directly responding to their case instead of comparing it to yours. Instead of comparing, like I said before, you're just going to tell the judge what's wrong with their case in claim warrant or impact form and respond to each part. Now, for example, if I use evidence or warranting to prove a claim or warrant wrong, they can no longer talk about their impacts because they should be able to prove that their warrant is right. In order for them to have access to their impact, they need to have their warrant. We can show you this more in detail. Another name we call these are called link chains, and that's how claim warrant impact goes through. It's essentially a chain of evidence, warrants, and impacts. And at one point, if the chain is cut off, then the rest of the chain goes off too. So let's talk about this. It says here that the claim is that we should take military action against North Korea. Now, the warranting for that is that North Korea is a threat to our national security. And thus, our impact is that we save millions of Americans from the potential threat of North Korean aggression. Obviously, you're going to want to have evidence for this because otherwise it's not unproven, but for the scenario of this presentation, let's just act like this is well defended. Okay, let's take a look at the response that a person could have. Let's say that the opponent goes ahead and says that North Korea isn't a threat to our national security, and with evidence, then there's a slight problem because when it says that North Korea isn't a threat to our national security, the warrant doesn't necessarily stand. So what happens is that the warrant no longer stands, like I said before, but it does one more thing. When this warrant doesn't stand, they no longer have access or no longer can claim that they're saving millions of Americans from the potential threat of North Korean aggression if North Korea isn't a threat to our national security. So that is also taken out, which leaves them in a really not so great situation for later on to prove their points because they no longer can tell the judges about their impacts, which is what judges really consider. Okay, well, we'll see you later in another lesson, but thank you for tuning in. See you later. Bye.